Okay, I'm skipping the teaser. The next thing on the agenda is to go over. So if you're joining this cohort, or you have been to other hands-on machine learning sessions, our monthly events is every last Tuesday of the month. You can stay connected with the community of people who join and sign up to these events by applying. This way we can also have an idea of your background and what you need in terms of your priorities or in the job search for data science job market. We also have the data science portfolio class, but today you're gonna try and do basically one class of this, and we're gonna go over that in the end. And if you want any other questions that was not mentioned in the FAQ section, feel free to ask me or anybody on the team, and we'll get back to you. All right, with that being said, I want to pass this to for the next presentation. Okay, does look like that my voice is going through. I want to make sure that people are actually here. And okay, Peter, I'm going to take you off hold so you can share your screen and go start with the presentation. Can you hear me, Peter?
Yes. I see that I'm unmuted.
Yes, you're unmuted, and you can share your screen now.
Okay.
Hi, how are you? PhillyTalent event?
This is the hands-on data science and computer class?
Yes. You're playing a little bit with this setup to work with Zoom, but you should be able to see the screen and everything's going to work smoothly. Peter, you can share your screen.
But I got a window that says you cannot start. Oh, okay. Yeah, let me try again.
Yeah, give me updates if I can do something.
It says you cannot start sharing screen while other participant is sharing.
Okay, so you should be able to do it right now. You're the co-host of the event, so try again.
This will stop other screens. Do you want to continue? So do I continue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop sharing here.
Okay. This should
perfect.
do. Okay. So shall I start?
Yeah, nice to meet you. Okay, take it, Peter.
Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Peter Yan, and today I will talk about a past competition. It's called a veto duplicate AS detection. And I did this competition as a course project for my data mining course. So a little bit about myself. I got my bachelor's degree in chemistry and a master's degree in statistics. And right now I'm working as a data analyst at Fannie Mae. So if there are someone out there that's trying to make a similar transition, you can make it. You can make it. I'm sure of that. So the motivation for choosing this competition is that, first of all, if you Google a veto, it is a Russian site that is very similar to, I believe, Craigslist. And so if you can imagine you want to buy some stuff on the website and you search for it, most of the stuff came out looking similar. That would be very frustrating. And this is a practical reason. Another reason is because this competition actually utilizes a very broad set of data science skills. For example, you need to join multiple tables together and do a lot of feature engineering before you can get to the modeling part. So this is what the data looks like. If you are familiar with SQL, this is a graphical representation of the schema. And this table, this atom pair table will be the primary table we'll use, and we'll join other informations to this table. So the first step will be joining this atom info with this using item ID and item ID _1, and then join it again using item ID _2. So and then you will get a basic tabular table that you can work with. And there are other informations here, for example, category. It is about each item belongs to which category and the location of the ad post. So And also there are image files. So if you are very familiar with neural networks, convolutional neural networks, you can definitely use that. But I didn't use it because it takes too much time and too much computational resource. So here's a brief overview of what you will need to do in this computation. So I just described how to join tables, and after that, you have to realize that the main problems you are solving is to see if two eyes are duplicate. That means you want to see how they are different. So create a lot of measures for difference is definitely helpful. There are a lot of text features. You can use string distance measures to calculate differences. And as I previously mentioned, there are location values. You can calculate the real physical distance and compare price, etc. And if you are really committed and you want to go to the top tier, and you should use those images using convolutional neural networks. But this is very expensive, both in terms of time and money. You have to run some stuff on AWS. So the next part of my presentation is going to be a little bit dense. The way I choose to do it is, the reason I choose to do it this way is because I was told you will get the slides later. So I was thinking after you get the slides, you can look into the codes in details. So let's dive in. This pipeline function is basically I was trying to create features from some JSON files. So there was a column, and each row in that column is basically a JSON string, and I need to parse that. I want to create something that is the count of how many items are in the JSON file. So this pipeline is for that. And after that, as you can see here, I use a lot of string distance measures. Here are 4 of them: JW, LV, Qgram, and cosine. And I also did a lot of transformations on that, just so that it doesn't throw me any errors. And also the method I was using was XGBoost. It is a tree-based model. It is very robust against missing value and outliers, but you still have a lot of work to do. You need to you need to create features that comes very close to those really useful but unknown features. The closer you get, the better the result will be. And this is something I haven't seen many times on the internet. So if you read the document of Carrot, the R package, you will find in about chapter 7 or chapter 8 how to create your own version of some model. This is my version of XGBoost. So basically, you use this function here to get the original function, and then you modify that. So here, what I did is I set the n-rounds parameter in XGBoost model to be 50. Because the originally, yeah, you can see here, originally it was basically for any random number from 1 to 1,000. And if it gets really large, it can take a crazy long time. And anyway, this is my version. And I set how I want to tune the model. And adaptive CV here, this is I believe it is a very useful trick. As long as you are not doing Bayesian optimization. So this is basically when you tune the model, you will get a lot of garbage parameter sets, and this adaptive method will stop them earlier. So you don't waste time on those garbage parameter sets. And this is how I tune the model. And the results are, this is a result from local test. It looks pretty good. And this is the results from my submission. As you can see, it was 6 months ago. And basically, yeah, that was a very brief overview of the project. And thank you all for being here. And if for some reason Professor Barut in the future sees this presentation, I want to thank you especially. So yeah, I'm open to any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask if you can stop sharing so that I can look at the questions that people might ask.
Okay.
There's a version of this file on the event page, a PDF file that you can look at. You can download it, you can look at it, you can use it. So one question I had was about the time before anyone else asking their questions. How long would it take to run this model, and for training or testing, if you remember on top of your mind?
Well, basically, I was running the model overnight. I was tuning them at I was tuning 500 sites of perimeter at once, so that will take overnight. And
okay.
Yeah, that's about it. And I didn't include any images, so I heard it will take very long, very long.
Okay, yeah. And you did you compare that with any results in Python, or you just did that in R?
I just did that in R, and yeah, at that time my main programming language is just R. Right now I'm using Python a lot.
I have an open-ended question, like how was your experience working with R if you used R Studio, especially R Studio with working with parallel libraries? I noticed you had some parallel feature used, and just in general, how was it playing it out with different libraries like Candid you had and so forth? What was the PowerPoint of using R for your work, if you can remember and tell us?
Well, because I was a student of statistics, and R is our default language, so I just roll with it, and it turned out that the tidyverse package is really powerful, and I really like what Max Kuhn did with the Carrot package. As I mentioned, the adaptive CV is a very smart method, and the only improvement I can think of is the Bayesian optimization. Yeah. So that's my main reason for using R.
Okay, thank you. So everyone else, if you'd like to ask a question, you can click on Task and on Chat, and you can ask your question. Ask me, and I'll pass it. I can ask behalf of you. So if anybody has any questions, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, we have a question for you. If you wanted to tell somebody, what is your background? Like,
Well, I'm MD from China, and I started a
business background, so not technical, but business and data analytics. So what would you how would you divide the steps that you did for building and training and testing your model to somebody who is coming from a data analyst business background?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
If you wanted to put it in simple, like 10,000 feet overview, how would you explain the steps you took to do and deliver this project, the steps you took in order to do the work, the modeling work, the data scientist role? What are the major activities that you do? Yeah, especially for some.
the business problem.
Yeah, and how would you? Yeah, exactly. How would you also connect it to a business value proposition model or work?
So
is it clear or is it too vague?
Okay.
Is it clear enough?
Yeah, it is clear. So first of all, if my audience is a business person, I won't show him or her any code, and I will check with him or her beforehand what exactly is the business need, And in terms of this competition, the business need clearly is to identify duplicate ads as accurate as possible. So the way I will explain it is right now the state-of-the-art method for doing that will be either XGBoost or convolutional neural network if you have a lot of images. And that's also what I did. And also, depending on how much time you have, you may or may not want to stack model together. In my project, I stacked 10 XGBoost model together, and basically it boosted the results a little bit from 0.80 to 0.807. That's the number I remember. So yeah, it boosts accuracy. So the key,
okay.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. I would like to add to that like as Peter was saying, you first want to clear your problem. What is it you're actually looking for? And that part of that definition is understanding your measure in technical terms. Like what is that measure you're trying to not overfit against and so forth. And then you have all these like resources and tools. Like if you have time, you can do overstacking, you do different things with your model. And each one of these models basically enable you to predict or classify certain things about your problem. Again, working with a business model person, as we were saying, it's very better. It's a lot more important to stay away from the technical aspect and stay closer to the business objectives, because you always lose stuff in translation. Like when you're doing the modeling, when you're doing the translation, you're losing value. So if your PowerPoint is on the business side, if you know, for example, you know what is your business is about, then you want to just keep explaining and talking and go from different angles, explain from different perspectives, and define that problem. Spend more time on problem definition part and understanding and defining those measures and KPIs. That would be one way of answering that question, one of the basic steps of doing it. And overall, we are talking about data competition platforms, so Kaggle is one of the most common ones. These mostly are about data scientist roles, which is about the modeling work. But there are other fields in data science that are not about just modeling, and there are more like visualization, dashboarding, risk assessment, different aspects to this. But this hands-on sessions, you will be able to get a good feeling of what is the modeling work. So yeah. All right. I want to go one more round. Okay, I don't think there's any questions for tonight, at least right now, I don't see any. Thank you very much, Peter. I'm going to go to the next step and anybody here who is joining us I know that one or two of the people are interested in mentorship. Anybody here is interested in landing a job offer and landing a job in data science? Are you interested? Are you looking to get a job in data science? Yes. Okay, you are. Okay, great. So I'm going to go and depending on what is going to be the demand, what you guys want, we can go back to coding, boot camps, and hands-on, and platforms, data science competition platforms. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some more helpful presentation on landing a job offer in data science, which is a very good, which is a part of the content that we pass to the mentors here. So this is one of the contents that we pass along as a part of training for our mentors on our platform. And we've seen a lot of value in that. So, show my screen. Have to go back 1 second. Computer just shut down a few minutes ago in the middle of the presentation. Never happened.
Wait, really? I shut down again?
Okay. Yeah, yes, Peter. We still have you on the call because somehow Zoom, I don't know. So we're not trying to mess with Zoom anymore. So you're actually on live right now, Peter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now I'm going to share. Yes, yes. So the previous presentation is online, and this one I'll also put it on the event. I will send an email. I'll send it as an email. It'll be easier. Okay, so we are going to talk about cold email tips, better inbound and outbound leads. The first part of the presentation that we had is about portfolios. Portfolios are a big part of what you need in order for your candidate to land a job. So this is, I said, this is part of the training that we give to our mentors as a part of the training on the platform. But since we have at least one person that is looking to land a job, I see a lot of value in that. That's almost 10%. So there's a platform, we fix the problem like accreditation in the data job market. The way we do it is we replace a resume with a verified portfolio, and we put a time date on it in 100 days. So you leverage different platforms because they have a verified data. It's good to be working with good data. That's key. So Kaggle and Drive-driven data, these are platforms that already have vetted data. So these data have been cleaned, professionally managed. The problem that you work on is clearly defined. So that's a big part of any data science position, but it is always great to already work on a well-defined problem data set. So that's how you start. You leverage these platforms, you assign topics. These topics are assigned by your mentor. Let's say, for example, different code labs, different competition coding in Python. Then you want to get experience in Hadoop. These topics are assigned to you, and eventually you build your portfolio. You share it on Kaggle, LinkedIn, and GitHub. All right, so what is this about? Where do these job opportunities come from? There are two ways. One is when you attract these opportunities from outside. So, for example, you look at jobs on LinkedIn. So that is when you actually just put in applications. So that is one way of getting those jobs. So a lot of platforms also are not as famous as LinkedIn, but for example, Indeed or startups with AngelList. These are positions that you can go. They recruiters, different type of recruiters, or they can post those jobs. And the way we categorize those is we call them as inbound, meaning that they're coming to you. Now, the part that a lot of candidates miss is outbound. Outbound is when you go after a job, and that's way more control because you know what is going on, you know what you're doing, you know you're getting responses. If you have more control over understanding the process for yourself, and this is the topic of this presentation: cold emails, outbound reach for job leads. So let's break down the challenge. What are the big issues that anybody who wants to get a job in data science or even technical folks have? This is very high level, but most just are not good at selling. Writing cold emails is one of them. We're going to go over the next 10 slides just talking about that. The previous presentation was about the portfolio. You need to have a good content. So what happens when those emails actually work and you get the attention of the recruiter and the staff? They want to talk to you about your presentation, about your portfolio, presenting it, discussing it, and talking about it. We're not going to talk about this part. This was the goal of the previous presentation and the next one that we're going to go to, the hands-on session. That is where you build these concepts. But this presentation, we're going to talk about cold email. The timing part, we have to put it because there is luck. There's some timing luck factor, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Who have email. So if it is small, if you're on AngelList, small firm, 4 or 5 people, 10 people, you're talking directly to the founders, CEOs, CTOs. And you should be ready to talk to that people. The email should be at that level. If it is a mid-range companies, like 50 people, that's still a multi-million-dollar company, then that's a technical recruiter that is usually one of the engineers there, or just a recruiter who also happens to have a very good understanding of technical topics. that's the person you send a cold email to, or the direct connection. So that could be also a LinkedIn connection. The LinkedIn connection gives you also a window of putting a short message. That's not very, that's also an email blast. And if it is a big company, then university recruiters and campus recruiters, especially for recent graduates that we work with, that's the most common case. Okay, so keep it short. Recruiters are busy and they prefer busy candidates. If you send a 10-page, I mean, I would say this 10 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, that's too much. 100 words is a good number. I'm going to go show you a few. This is the sales work you're doing, so you want to cut to the accomplish. Your candidate needs to cut to the point as quick as possible. Show the value of the problem, and the uniqueness of his or her solution. Like it's great that, for example, we know that Peter's background is in statistics and R, and that's why he used that as a solution. That gives you a very good story as a recruiter. You understand now what is happening, what is it the way it is. The portfolio should all be one story that makes sense. Make the job easy. That is key. Recruiting, hiring is one of the most excruciating tasks in any growth business, in any business. So make the job easy for the recruiter. For example, just attach your resume. Simple as that. If you expect things to go well, just prepare it. Just be prepared for it and prepare your recruiter for it. And you get to where you want to go by that recruiter faster. Now we quickly talked about. I want to go one slide back. We talked about university recruiters and campus recruiters. That is different than headhunters or recruiting agencies. We don't advise candidates with no experience in finding a job to go work directly with agencies. But if somebody has an experience or has already been working and they understand the market that they are in and what they want to work on, they can definitely do that too. That's another type of market that they can email to. But there's a huge difference between emailing a recruiting agency and emailing a campus or university or technical recruiter for a company. And the difference is that person that when you email an agency, that agency is also busy sending out a ton of inbound traffic, which you skipped in the first place, right? You didn't apply through LinkedIn. You didn't apply to those things. You decided to do the email instead. While they are already paying for those LinkedIn ads and all those. So you can still get value just following this email, sending messages to them, but you need to be aware of these details, especially if you have not been in the market, you have not worked in the industry. Those are two key reasons that we ask our candidates not to do that and not to spend time reaching out to the recruiting agencies, and instead go to the recruiting university recruiters, company recruiters, and CU and CTOs to get better return on their time, basically. All right. Okay, make the job easy. Continuing here, and give them right away the reason why you are in their inbox. And for example, what is your ask? We're going to talk about those. Making sure that you know who you're talking to, not that you just grab that email and you don't even know the first name of that person or the background of that person. Making sure that you mention that in your email. So these are the main tips that we're going to follow through in different versions. This is one example. This is 108 words, still a good email. And we're going to go over how we can make this email even better. So this is a 2-paragraph, hey, X. I'm passionate about ML, machine learning, how it improves the world. This is for a recent graduate. This is not crazy. We have seen a lot of emails like that. Last semester, I made a project which used computer vision to define and categorize single diseases. Blah, 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 blah. It goes in. I have an upcoming on-site interview with Microsoft Azure ML team next month, but wanted to also interview with Uber. The self-driving cars is where I think computer vision will improve the world. So very big reason, the most in the next decade. I've also enjoyed the Uber ATG team's technical blocks on some 3D point clouds and blah, blah, blah. Would love to start an interview process for a computer vision internship. I've attached my resume, thanks. So that's one way to start. Right off the bat, okay, understanding that the person you're talking to, the level of the recruiter that he or she is, a better version would be like this. Hi, Tim, I noticed your ad. Right off the bat, I want to point out, avoid templates like this and start to realize that this is the most time-consuming part of what you do. You're just focusing on selling. You're not changing your resume, your portfolio. You're just doing this. If it is not working, you need to change your target. Some candidates that you might be working with, they do everything. They change everything. They change their resume, their portfolio, the job position or the job role that they're applying to, even the states that they are going at. And they don't see why they're not getting results. And they hate writing emails because they think that's not necessary. Now, the reason that we have a 10-week program to build a portfolio is that when you have those portfolios ready, then you don't work on them. You just focus on making the job resume fit, the job portfolio fit. And once you got that, how are you going to get that? By sending these emails. So this is a better version of, and this is what I mean by putting an actual name. Not everybody's name is Tim, but the point is avoid templates. So hi Tim, you've done research, you know who the person, the level is, his level is, and the company and so forth, and then you go in, I notice your ad, the backstory, why you're here, and right off the bat, you go through the most important accomplishment that you had. I have an upcoming on-site interview, and you give it more details, and in the end, you create, I'm available to interview for my computer vision internship immediately. So you're making yourself very available. Thanks. And the reason I didn't put the resume, I'm attaching your resume is because this email will already have that resume attached. You don't need to say. It's like one of the key things a lot of your candidates might do. I'm talking to mentors that would like to join us. They keep saying that you're a great communicator, you're very on time. You don't need to say that. If you are, the person will notice it. Like right the first 5 minutes that they get on the phone with you, they will pick it up. These are things you don't need to do. In the same way, you don't need to say I'm attaching a resume, just put the resume there. So this is the last version, and very quickly, by the way, the first one was 108 words, and this is 100 words, but it looks a lot better to me. And then this one is 72 words, and it still is relatively long. So again, the main message in each paragraph is the same. Introducing yourself, why you're here, technical background, some very quick, just showing your main accomplishment and so forth. What makes this interesting, what makes you interesting to that recruiter, and then finally, your ask very clearly. I'm available to interview immediately. Just why are you here? That's your ask. That's very clear. All right, so relate. So either personally, I want to go over a few other things that most candidates skip because again, they do templating and it does not help. Relate to the person you're talking to. That person could get your first job, and that job could just change your city, your state, your life. It's a big deal. So deal with it like it is a big deal. So relate, we say personally and professionally. The best way is when you're growing your network on LinkedIn from, let's say, most candidates, they start with 200 people. You need to re-ask them to get it to at least 500. That helps you a lot with the LinkedIn searches and so forth. A good way to start is to actually have the right people around you. So when you do LinkedIn people search, just pick the right filters, the type of positions and people you want to have around, and have them in your contact, and then you can just add a note to those new connections. So personally, professionally, and then the recruiter or the company. So you can relate to a company, whether you're aligned with a mission. It sounds cheesy, but actually goes a long way, especially with a small team, which is a lot of jobs, for example, in Philly. So, or if it is a big company, then you can talk about how you relate to the small team, how your background. So anyway, that's a key differentiator. Well, could be a key differentiator for your candidates or for you if you're a candidate. All right. To have a clear ask, that's another thing. People, candidates, first-time candidates miss it. I said be upfront, humble, and proud. So a lot of like, I hope this email finds you well. You can skip that. You can just go and still be very respectful, still be very humble. So for example, this title or this ask is like set up a time to chat. Like that doesn't mean anything for a while. Or learn more about the interview process. So the interview process is like usually phone calls and then on-site interview. It's nothing crazy about that, you know. But you'll be surprised how many people just ask me that in the mock interview. Like, oh, what are the next steps? But the next step is if you're selected, we tell you what the next steps. So these are big no's to stay away from. I like to interview for a software engineering internship for summer 2019. A good one that I put very short, concise, clear. So I'd like to interview for your software engineering internship. Your subject line will be you and your ask. A good example is, for example, hack PSU winner interested in Nest Labs. And then put your first name on your last name. A lot of people struggle with my first name, so I just put my last name. That's it. A lot of face too. So former Google and Facebook intern interested in full-time FT at Airbnb. First name, last name. So these are great titles for that. All right, so follow up at least twice. We talked about timing. That's your lock factor. You have no control over that at all. But there are things that would help you and will help your candidate to get a job offer faster. One thing is to ask them to always reply as completely as they can and as quickly as they can. And understand that everything is in a form of an email. Notifications mostly is read in form of an email. So they can use all these tips when they're growing their network in LinkedIn, when they are growing an Indeed product, when they're doing all these tasks, when they're setting up the small introduction, when they're all doing all these works, they have to follow the same rule. For example, be clear, be short, be to the point. Keep it simple. One of the good things is that as a mentor, I have never seen my candidates to just lose things or make a big mistake by becoming simpler in their style, operation, strategy, and so forth. So that's a good advice always to ask them to keep things simple. For example, like make sure that they're not switching everything as they're applying. Because it is, obviously when you put 10 emails one day and you don't get results, and the first thing candidates do is that they doubt their resume. They think that they're not good enough. What the problem was that they were aiming for wrong job market or wrong title. You need to ask them to keep this simple and not to switch things too much. And do it often as they can. And if they're not, then they have to work on the portfolio. All right, putting it all together, this is one simple subject line for the previous email that we got. Big school, Microsoft intern, interested in working full-time at Uber, and the email goes in, the resume is attached. Now this is the first follow-up, okay? Same title obviously, but okay, I wanted to follow up with you. Follow-up actually goes a long way. Again, people are busy. It's not because you're not good, it's not because you didn't cut, but there's something wrong. Maybe you were not as great as you thought you were, which is fine. You just need to pass the certain levels. So these follow-ups would actually help a lot, because then again, it's a reminder. And then the follow-up. Second one, I want to circle back on this, maybe send us after all. I personally remember people who follow up, especially about the phone. This never gets old. Okay, so with that, I want to close this. So this is one example of a class test that the mentors would get to leverage from to help them get insight to pass it to the candidates and give their candidates perspective. And one of the most important questions were to find these opportunities. directly and have the control herself. I did not mention about some of the applications that we recommend, but I would wait for any questions you might have, and I can go into more details of these third-party apps that you can use. That being said, I'm done with this presentation, and the next step would be to go and start a hands-on session. Everybody should have got the invitation. Have you got the invitation? One of them should be an invitation to join. Well, you know, you can just put in your email here, and here's a pen, and I'm just going to add you. So the hands-on machine learning portfolio demo day will be the next and last thing for today. I know we have only 10 minutes, but I will continue to stay here for at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So this, by the end of this course, you will be able to submit one project, one model on Kaggle, and you'll get a ranking on the leaderboard for one of the most famous data sets that is there. It's like data sets. And then in the last one, there's some stretch goals. Thank you. There's some stretch goals that you can go and do more. We will be in touch with anybody who signed up to the workshop with what they did, how they did, if they had any questions. There's also a community link that I will send to you for any questions you have during this model building and submission. You can post it there, and everybody in this cohort will be able to see, and we'll be support you want to do.